Couple notes that we've seen since camp has started. Seems like we did a pretty good job in the dining halls the last 2 days, but please remember, no hats. Please clean up your table. If you sit down, there's nothing on your table. When you leave, there shouldn't be anything there either. Please remember, don't leave and come back. That's a double count. This morning seemed like we did a good job getting down on time, getting our laps run, finding our groups. Tomorrow we'll be a little further ahead because it won't take as long to find your groups and to get in your running groups. So please come down, get the run doing straight to your group. Everybody has to come down. So please, counselors, make sure we're waking people up. We had a couple people, for whatever reason, slept in, wrong time. Morning is the same time. You need to be there at 6:30 a.m. every morning on the blue track upstairs running your 4 laps, okay? Make sure when you leave, you take everything with you. We got a couple things left this morning, but please make sure when you leave the gym, you're out of there, okay? During the session this morning, please, we saw some people yesterday with earbuds in. We know you're not listening. We want you to be listening to this. Please take those out. Please stay off your phones. Listen to our speakers. When our speaker this morning is done, there's going to be some announcements about the afternoon run, about team challenge, things like that. So just hold up before you leave this morning's session, okay? We'll go over some things as well with rain, where we're going to meet with some changes of location if it's raining, okay? All right, and sticking with the idea of our sessions, the idea you came here, in addition to run and get in shape for the fall, is to learn some things. And one of the most important things I tell recruits, my athletes, this all the time: I don't care how good you are, it's hard to get better if you're hurt more often than you're healthy. So how do you stay healthy? Some people get lucky, they just run and they don't get hurt. But there's a better way than just trying to bank on luck, and that is doing little things. And we got a guy in today who's been coming here, maybe it's been 20 years, I think, Steve Butler. He's a PT out of the Richmond area. He comes up here, he's going to give you a lot of information about how to stay healthy, why your body functions the way it does, what you can do if it functions this way or that way, shoes, things like that, exercises you can do to stay healthy. So pay attention. This is one of those little things you can pick up, especially where your bodies are now, younger, developing, changing. This will give you some ideas of why it functions the way it does. And if you do what he says, you got a better chance of staying healthy and hopefully not being injured. If you do that, you have a great season. All right, Steve. I'm not sure where Steve went. Steve? Matt? Do you know where Steve went? Oh, there he is. All right, he went out to the car to get something. So what we're going to do is he's going to go along with this. He's going to have a PowerPoint. Along the way, he's going to stop and ask questions. One of our counselors has a microphone. Just raise your hand when you have a question. He'll run over to you. Say it into the microphone, because the microphone is putting it on a live feed. So we need you to ask your questions into the microphone. But this is Steve Butler. He'll be our physical therapist speaker this morning. Let's welcome Steve.
Hey guys, everybody awake and doing well today? Awesome. Where are we at here? All right. So what I'm going to talk to you guys about today, as a physical therapist, I've been working with runners for 34 years now. I've been a runner myself. I never was competitive like you guys in high school. I was a wrestler, and for some reason I didn't like running in high school, but I discovered it in college, and just recreationally to get fit. I was training with I had a good friend who was a soccer player at University of Maryland, and he needed somebody to train with during the off season. So that's how I got into it, and I've enjoyed it ever since. But anyways, I want to talk to you all about maximizing your potential as a runner. But doing that also helps you prevent injury. So the two are two sides of the same coin. Okay, if you're efficient, if you're running well and effective, you're also going to be a little less likely to get injured. And the last thing you want to do is be sitting at home or having to ride a bicycle because you got to cross-train. So these are the components of maximizing your potential. It's a long list, but we're going to just go through these different ones. Talking about form, nutrition, training, recovery and rest. We'll talk a little bit about shoes, warm up, and then about posture. You guys love that, right? All right. So if you've been here before, you've seen this video. Back in the good old days, you could easily download videos off of YouTube, and it's a little harder now. You have to pay for it. So this is an old video, but he's still one of the greatest runners ever. And I'd like you to ingrain this vision of running, this image of running, because it's just beautiful. His name is Haile Gebrselassie, and I'll just kind of address a couple things. You can see his foot is landing right there. See how close it is, almost directly under his body? That's a really good foot landing. Middle part of the foot, not way on the back of the heel. So it's kind of the midfoot to forefoot. The faster you go, the more towards the front part of the foot you're going to be hitting. So he was a long distance runner. His knee is already bent. Notice that. When you're out on your heel, you end up landing on a straight knee. Which one's more shock absorbing, do you think? Bent knee or straight knee? Bent, right. So you get that initial absorption, and that's actually been measured. If you run across a force plate, we'll see if you're running out on the back of your heel, there's going to be this quick spike of force that you're hitting the ground with, and that spike has to be absorbed up into your body. It can hit all the way up into your back. So you want to land with without excessive force. Landing on the midfoot would help. Look at that swing leg. Heels up nice and high. See this pole here? That's a vertical pole. See how he's got that little forward lean? So running has been described as controlled falling. So just keeping your feet moving long enough to keep you from face planting, right? So running, if you can think of that image of kind of falling and just keeping the legs going, you'll actually get gravity kind of working along with you. And one other thing I'd like to point out, this has actually been researched when they compared like first place to fourth place finish in a variety of races. This angle right here, can you all see my little mouse? No, you can't. Anyways, the angle between his thigh and then that back leg, so it's basically like this angle. Okay, you can see that on that image. That's called your stride angle. And the better stride angle you can get, the higher that drive knee compared to that push-off angle, that triple extension position, the bigger that angle, the more powerful and the better runner you are. That takes flexibility here and the back leg. Those hip flexors have to be flexible. What happens to the hip flexors when we sit all day, do you think? They get tight. What happens when you're curled up in a ball looking at your phone? They get tight. So the more hours you spend all curled up like that, the tighter those hip flexors get, and it'll decrease your stride angle. So that's my first comment on posture, sitting, and how it affects your performance. And of course, you want that good knee drive, hip drive. Notice his foot is still underneath his body while he's driving that knee. When you're overstriding or going out for the heel, a lot of people are already in this position. So if you look at pictures of yourself, if you're pushing off and this back leg's still on the ground, and your other foot's all the way out in front already, you've got to pull it back a little bit and focus on more hip drive. Okay, so these are the components. I've kind of hit on them already. All of this stuff will be available to you, so you can look at these, but the forward lean at the ankle. Now, is it this kind of forward lean? No, it's like this, right? It's this forward lean that kind of makes you fall forward. So the forward lean happens at the ankles. And you want that arm swing not crossing midline, right? You want it not straight ahead for a distance runner, it kind of comes toward midline. Sprinters are going to be like just drive everything forward as hard as you can. So cadence, that's how many steps you take in 1 minute. Okay, and we're going to go over that with a song, and if you were here before, we do a little bit of dancing, running in place. And you want to minimize how far you're jumping up and down. Those two are directly related. If your cadence is real slow, if your turnover of your legs are real slow, you're going to bounce more. If you're higher cadence, you're going to be a little smoother, and that's what you want. You don't want to be wasting energy. going up. We talked about that stride angle. And then this last thing, low ground contact time. That's, you want to hit the ground and get off. So when you're running, that's what that higher cadence will get you. You touch the ground, it's almost like you're running on hot coals. Get off the ground, get off the ground. You want to be flying, okay? All right, so here's some drills, and this is where I get participation to keep you guys awake. So the skips, we'll start with skipping. And you guys know the A skip, B skip, and some of you all might even do the C skip. Anybody brave soul out here? I'm going to pick on somebody if nobody else volunteers, but somebody, okay. Got an A skipper out there? Come on. Grayson, you're off the hook. I don't know where you are, Grayson, but you're off the hook. All right, give him a hand. What's your name?
Grayson.
Oh, you are Grayson. That's funny. I was going.
They call me. Just call me G-Money.
G-Money? All right, G-Money.
What do I have to do?
All right, we want to see an A skip. But one thing I want to, actually, let's just see your A skip, and then if it needs a little tweaking, I'll tweak it a little bit.
What exactly is
It's not,
skip? Is that like the...
that's this one here.
Oh, yeah, I know how to do that.
All right, very good. That's okay. Let's clean it up. No, I'm glad you did that because a lot of people, coaches have a lot of kids that have to, do these drills with, and it's hard to keep track of every motion. So, I don't know. Anybody want to be brave enough to say one thing that he could do better? What's that? Knee angle? Yeah. All right. So pull the foot out here like this instead of your foot underneath.
Okay.
Pull it out like that.
Okay.
And what part of the foot should hit the ground? Anybody know? Mid to forefoot, right? Not your heel. All right. So you skip, and then you put that foot down right on the forefoot. All right, go. Try again. Right out here. That's better. Go, 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 go. There it is. There it is. That's much better.
Okay.
All right, do it. Now, one more time. Let's just try to make it a little quicker. All right?
Okay.
So you get off that ground. Remember, it's like hot potatoes. There we go. Pump your arms just like you're running. There it is. All right, very good. Thank you, Grayson. All right, if you add just a little spice to that where you are falling into it a little bit, you get this forward lean, then you can kind of train yourself to learn to feel that falling sensation with the skip. So the A skips are really good, and the B skip is similar. Same thing, you just get to whip that leg around and snap it back. So the B skip's good because it trains that snap back feeling. When you're overstriding, you're going out here like this and you're landing like that, right? But the way you should run, that leg goes out, but it should come back closer to your center of gravity, center of mass. All right, butt kickers. Who wants to do butt kickers? All right, come on up. All right. Love the glasses. Yep, shoes off. Let's see. Do them in place. Just do them in place, and I might. All right. One thing's missing. Use your arms. There we go. All right. Anybody, tell me what's good about this. Anybody? What about knee position? Anybody brave enough to yell it out? So, should the knees be back here like this, where you're trying to kick, or up here like this? In the front. Did he do that? Yeah, what's your name?
Christian.
Christian, good job, Christian.
Thank
you. Let me see it again. It was the forward lean. So go ahead and go across the stage. See how he's falling into it? Knees coming forward. Those are very good butt kickers. Excellent. One other thing on the A skip I didn't bring up, and I don't think Grayson was having a problem with this one, but a lot of you guys, when the leg comes up, you collapse your back. You've seen people do that, so it looks kind of like this, especially if you're real tight, and you see this kind of flexion extension. A skip and B skips are a great time to disassociate, separate your hip movement from your spine movement, okay? So that's very important with running. You don't want your spine to be rocking back and forth like this while you're running because you got tightness or weakness or just bad habit. So when you skip, you should stay really, really tall and just move the leg. My back is not moving at all over here, okay? So it's not rounding like this every time, okay? So be mindful of that. That can make a big difference in training your body for running. All right, for this one, I need somebody who's really good at jumping rope. Any jump ropers, jump rope run? You got to be able to run with a jump rope. All right. Woo, woo, woo. What's your name? Charles? Hey, Charles. All right, so this is a great drill if you are trying so hard to keep yourself from overstriding. All right, overstriding, going out, you're constantly heel striking, the coach is yelling at you, your shoes are all wearing out right here on the back of the shoe, and you want to get more efficient. This is a really good drill because if you overstride while you're jumping rope, what's going to happen? You're going to trip over the rope and fall on your face. All right, so let's hope Charles doesn't overstride and do a face plant on the stage here. Oh, you got to get that knot out. All right, start in place and then try to just, like you're running, so one leg to the other. All right, can you run like that? Excellent. All right, now look, pay attention. Can you do that a couple times back and forth? Do you see the forward lean that we saw with Haley Gebrselassie, right? Nice forward lean, keep going. What else do you see? You see, what's that? Landing right under a center of gravity, excellent. Do you see the hip drive? See those knees coming up? You got to get your knees up, otherwise you're going to trip. So that's awesome. Try to do it hitting each leg, like one then the other, instead of skipping like that. No, that's good, that's good. So you can also, as you practice it, you hit each stride with the rope. I don't know if you want to try that and see if you can, boom, there you go. That's a little harder, but that was fine the way you did it. So you could do it with the way he was doing it or try to hit with each stride. Very good, Charles. All right, walking lunges, I don't think we need to, oh yeah, go ahead, come on up here. We got a volunteer. Bravo. Finally, we got a young lady up here. What's your name? Ella. Hey, Ella. I got a niece named Ella, nice name. Okay, walking lunges. Now, the details are real important with the walking lunge because it's real easy to cheat. So just go into a lunge. But, yeah, okay, so like this. Now, keep your back leg straight. All right, there you go. Now, what do you think about this posture here, everybody? There we go. Let's get Ella to be up real tall. All right, that's good. Now, I want you to stride through, go into a lunge on the other side, and duplicate that position. Whoop. Good balance exercise. Oop, get tall. There we go. So this is where you can work on posture. Stay real tall right here. There you go. Shoulders back. Now stride through, drive through, drop. Now do a slight turn to the left. All right, now where do you feel stretch? Yep, you feel stretch in that back leg. Go to the next one. Stride through, turn to the right. All right, and you feel that in the left leg, right? Okay, excellent. Go all the way across stage. Tall every time. There you go. Do a little twist, Up towards the front leg. Twist towards front leg. There we go. And one more. Excellent, Ella. Thank you. All right, so sitting, I talked about tightens up those hip flexors, right? So I don't know if you guys used walking lunges pre-run, but it's a great hip opener after you've been sitting in class all day to get that hip flexor back so you can work on that stride angle. Okay, walking lunges. But it's different than your typical walking lunge. It's keeping the back leg straight because you're trying to simulate that stride angle when you're running, okay? So excellent little drill pre-run, and you can do some after run. Okay, all right, the next one's a fun one. Anybody like Spider-Man in here? All right, who's like crazy about Spider-Man and wants to come up here? And all right, this is your all right, come on up. All right, so we've got the Spider-Man producers looking for the next Spider-Man. This might be the man here. What's your name? I'm sorry?
Jackson Smith.
Jackson. Hey, Jackson. All right. He's not happy with his friends. All right, Jackson, get in a push-up position. And let's see if you can reach with your left arm and your right leg at the same time, just like Spider-Man. Yep. There you go. So your right leg's going to go out behind your right arm. So pull the right leg up. There you go. And then reach with your left arm. There it is. Woo. All right, now go to the next. Now move just like that. Switch your legs and arms. There you go. And go forward across the stage. There it is. Woo! That is very difficult to do, but thank you, Jackson. But did you feel the hip? I don't know if you're probably too embarrassed to even think what you're feeling, but the calves, yeah, it's a great mobility exercise. Again, working on that stride angle. Can you get back in position real quick? Just do your left, I don't care which one, just opposite arm and leg. Left arm forward. Yeah, there you go. So the lower he could be, the better. And that you're getting a stretch back here, mobilizing here, and strengthening the core. Let's see if you can hold it for the next 20 minutes. Ready? All right. Good job. Give him a hand. All right. So this is a great, if you want to work core and hip mobility exercise, the Spider-Man crawl is excellent. And you can see that guy, how low he is to the ground. So as you get better at it, as you get more mobile and stronger, the goal is to really hug the ground, just like Spider-Man climbing up the wall. So great exercise. And now this one, we're not going to demonstrate the bounding because you got to be really warmed up. That's an aggressive exercise. But you all probably do bounding with your team. Take it seriously. And when you're doing it, I want you to try to have this image, that stride angle image. Some people will bound and they'll look like this in the air, okay, like they're doing the splits. Okay, you got to keep that front leg bent as long as you can while you're flying through the air, then snap it just like a bee skip. Then you're going to put that leg down and you're going to explode off that leg, take off in the air, and so think about stride angle when you're doing the bounding exercise, okay? I'm sure a lot of you guys do that. It's a great power drill, helps build speed, and but it's aggressive, so you got to be good and warmed up for it. Do you see the guy over here? That's how you often see bounding, so don't do it that way. All right, so we could do two people coming up here, all right? In the red, come on. No? Who else? All right, come on up. We'll let him pull you. How about that?
All right.
What's your name? Truman. Put that around your waist, Truman. And what's your name?
I'm Grant.
All right, Truman and Grant, guys. All right, so the belt should be across the pelvis. All right, now look at the picture there, Truman. I want you to just get in that position and hold it. Just don't move yet. Just, yeah. So get that. Now, which arm should be forward, Truman? Switch on. There we go. Now, what do y'all think about this posture? Look at the picture on there. Yeah. Let's see that straight posture. Little straighter here. There we go. Now, all right. Does that look good, guys? What do y'all think? All right. Now, repeat that over and over across the stage. Go with him, yeah. Not too hard. Not too much resistance. Let him go a little bit more. Let him go. Let him go. All right. Good job, Truman. Let's switch it up. Give him a hand, everybody. All right. I think that might have been too much resistance. So just give him a little bit, just enough for him to pull against, so get in position. Now, see it, and up on your forefoot, try to now just drive each time across the stage. You resist a little bit, Truman. Yeah, that's it. Without hopping now, just run. Boom, 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 drive, 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 drive. There it is. Very good. All right, so you guys can buddy up. That's a great drill. I don't know if you've ever done that, but again, works on stride angle, hip drive, and your strength in running. So I've listed some others here just for your reference. Like I said, you'll have access to this. This is a great exercise called split squats. We talked a little bit with the coaches about what makes you injury prone is if you've had an injury in the past. And the reason that makes you more injury prone is because you probably never fully rehabilitated that leg or whatever. So let's say you had a bad ankle sprain on the right, swelling goes down, you feel better, boom, you go back to running. But you had to rest it for 4 weeks, so that leg got real weak in 4 weeks. All right, so one-legged strengthening is very, very valuable for on your own. Talk to the coach, however you work it in your schedule. But you could do it unsupported like that, or you could have it one leg up on a bench like this guy here. And notice, again, what are you seeing here? What's his back look like? Straight, good posture. We want to be running tall. You want to run with every inch of height that you have. Nice and tall, knees going forward over the toes. So the body and the tibia, you see the torso and the tibia are parallel, but you see those lines. Okay, so that's a really good position to do one-legged squats in. And then you got quick feet drill. You guys probably do these like high quick steps. You could do up on a box where you're just working like that as fast as you can to work on the foot quickness. Okay. So, cadence. All right, I want to talk a little bit about cadence. Does anybody measure their cadence? All of you guys have a smartphone, smartwatch. Well, it'll tell you what your cadence is. So does anybody who know their cadence have a cadence of 160 or lower? Raise your hand. Okay, we got 3-ish. Okay. How about between 160 and 170? A lot of the guys here, taller guys. Okay. How about over 170? Okay. 160 to 170 and over 170 are pretty 50-50. So the research shows if you're under 164, your stress injury rate goes much higher compared to people over 174. So I want you all to be aware of that. Your efficiency will improve with the higher cadence as well. So when you're running your race, your cadence is probably at least 180. I bet your race pace, it may be close to 180. But it's your training pace, it should mimic your race pace. Pretty close. It'll be a little bit less, but it really should be pretty close. You want to try to keep your cadence the same, and that will help prevent injury, because when you keep that long stride that you have with race pace and you slow it down, what's going to happen is you're going to end up bouncing. Okay, so you're doing all this vertical, that's a low cadence, long stride. You could be at the same pace and just chuck along like that, not as bouncy, right? It also trains your nervous system to turn over at that high rate. That's what you want. You want that nervous system be able to click along, do it when you're training and when you're racing. So you guys stand up. This is a good time to stretch the legs a little bit. All right, so let's just run in place. Try to be with my beat. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left. This is a pretty low cadence. This is probably like about 160-ish, 165. All right? All right, take a break. Now, this song goes back to my high school days, but it's at a cadence of 180. Now, I want you to run to the beat of the music, or just kind of jog in place or bounce to the beat of the music. Very good. I see a lot less vertical. I see a lot more speed. So get a feel for that. Excellent. That looks good. All right, take a break. Good job, good job. All right, did y'all notice? I don't know if anybody wants to share. You can have a seat now, or stay standing if you want. I don't know, especially you guys in the back, I don't know if you noticed, but when we were doing it at my first pace, did you notice how the heads were just kind of going up and down? There was a lot more vertical, but then when we picked up the pace, it all smoothed out. Everybody kind of looked uniform, a little bit less bouncy. So higher cadence, generally speaking, is a little easier on the body. Above 170 to 180, kind of depending on your height and your speed. But the higher cadence is generally better. So if you're kind of a bouncy runner, if you're overstriding, landing out on that heel, and you can't get the jump rope run, just bumping your cadence up a little bit, 5 to 10% can get you off your heel, okay? So if overstriding is an issue with you, 5 to 10% change in your cadence can help. Put on some Spotify. Spotify actually has a feature you may not know where you can pick a playlist at 174. I'm going to do cadence. All the songs are going to be 174 beats a minute. And so you could run to the beat of the music, and that'll help you train your cadence. Okay, I think that's the best way. Or if you don't mind the obnoxiousness of it, you could get a metronome app and just run to a metronome. That would get kind of boring, though. All right. Custom from current slide. Okay, so training schedule is a very important part of running efficiency also. And you guys are under your coaches, so you should have that covered. But trust the training schedule. Some of you overachievers might end up doing more miles on your own. At least make sure the coach knows, because that's how you can get overuse injuries if you're doing too many miles. Too many is not good. Not enough is not good. So you work with the coach and set your goals. So you figure out how hard you're going to run. You're going to do speed work, hill workouts, that sort of thing. So the more regimented you are with your training schedule, the better. And that's true for this summer. You guys are here, obviously, to prepare for the fall, so that's awesome. But hopefully you did some preparation in June and early July. So, yep, you could be training a little too hard. That's not good. Or not quite enough. So how many of you all fit this side, the Garfield side, and wants to admit it? Okay. How many tend to be overachievers over here? Yeah, neither one's great. Okay. I'm just throwing this out there. You guys, I believe, have a nutritionist coming to talk to you in detail. But I'm just going to reinforce what he or she is going to say and talk about it. If you want to perform well, you need to eat well. It's common sense. Just going to reinforce that. Protein is very important for recovery of your muscles and your bones, so make sure you're getting plenty. And if those of you are organized, this is a really good app, MyFitnessPal. It actually has a database of all kinds of every food you could think of, and it'll tell you the sugar, carbs, protein, fat. Can help you keep track, make sure you're getting what you need, okay? Now, the surface of the road that you run on, if you're running on trails, that's great. You got variety, up and down, twisty turns. The variety is really good. It helps you prevent overuse injuries. Now, trails, you might get macro injuries like an ankle sprain, or you might hit a root and fall. But the overuse injuries are the ones that can be really frustrating. And those are the ones that are when you're running on the same side of the road, the same route every day, you end up with overuse injuries. So mixing it up is excellent between road and trail. And I don't know if you can see this slope. That's how roads are designed. You may or may not have really noticed that, but some roads more than others, but they have this little curve to it. If you're always running on the left side and it's got a curve, your chances of getting an overuse injury go up because you're not symmetrical. One leg's going in, the other leg's going out. There's this little subtle thing that's happening. So whenever it's safe, you run down the middle of the road. If it's a quiet neighborhood, mixing it up between sidewalks and the road, that sort of thing. So just be mindful of that. You try to run on the crown of the road whenever it's safe, or like the best thing is off-road, of course, trails, so you have the variety. All right, already talked about that. Trails, surface risks, and of course hills. Hills are great. Hill repeats build strength, help you form power, get power and strong. When you're running downhill, it's really easy to overstride. So you start loading your heel going downhill. So think when you're going downhill and you're doing hill repeats, think about keeping those legs turning over real quick and try to land towards the middle part of the foot, even when you're going downhill. That'll help prevent downhill injuries. Okay. Anybody have questions about that stuff I just kind of ran through? Road camber, anything like that? We got a microphone here. If somebody, we got one in the back. Oh, one right here too.
Okay, so is there a difference between something like doing hill repeats and then doing like reddish knob? So what I mean by that is how does something like reddish knob work your muscles in a different way? Do you know what I'm asking?
Yep. So reddish knob is just brutal. Hill repeats are painful. Reddish knob is a different level. But the difference is you don't get rest. So it's not an interval. So you're doing an endurance run up a hill. So it's more training for endurance than, say, hill repeats that you would typically be doing, which would be developing power. Now, if you do intervals up reddish knob, that would be kind of the same as hill repeats if you walk recovery, every so often. But yeah, it's really more of a heart, reddish knob is more of a kind of a gut heart endurance test to see if you can make it up there, as opposed to the benefit of hill repeats. It's a good question. There was somebody in the back.
What's the best way to know if you need to take a day off or if you just need to get through it?
Wow, that's a good question. I have a slide on here that talks about overtraining syndrome. So that might answer some of those questions about when is the time to take a day off. One of the rules is if your gait is changing, if you can't run with normal form, like you got a little bit of a limp, you need to take time off. So if you're altering how you run, that's one. Secondly, if you're running and you feel something and it's increasing as you keep running, it's getting worse and worse, even if it's not dramatic, but it's slowly getting worse and worse, that's an injury that's going to lead to something more significant. So that's a time to take time off.
If you do need a rest, should you take a day that's less mileage, or should you take it completely off?
Again, another great question. So you might have an injury that only hurts when you run more than 3 miles. Then in that situation, run 3 miles, don't run more than 3 miles. And cross-train, if you're supposed to run 10, do 3 and then cross-train the equivalent of another 7 kind of thing. And to that point, cross-training is extremely valuable. So when you take a day off, unless you're dealing with overtraining syndrome, and we'll talk about that, when you take a day off of an injury, don't just sit at home and eat, like Garfield, popcorn and watch TV or look on your phone. Get on a bike, do a comparable workout on a bike or an elliptical machine so you're still getting blood flow, and it'll actually help that injury recover quicker if you're still moving. So keep running if you can, but maybe shorter. You might even have to run a little slower. Some injuries, like muscle strains, might allow you. I had a hamstring injury that every time I got up to a certain speed, it just tightened. But I could run, like a 7 or 7:30. But if I got below 7, every time it would just start tightening up. And I just kept running because I knew that was good therapy on it. You just had to keep my speed down. So, does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, very good. So now we'll talk about everybody's favorite subject, and that's rest. When you're running and you're training, and the more intense you are training, the more you need to rest. Okay, so sleep. I just can't tell you enough. When you're trying to, you're addicted to your phone or whatever, and you're staying up late and then getting up early for school, and you're sleep deprived, that's going to affect your performance in a big way. And you're going to be much more prone to injury. Sleep deprivation leads directly to injury, especially in endurance athletes. Okay, your performance is going to go down, and you'll be more prone to injury. And you probably know this, but sleep also, good long sleep empties your storage parts of your brain, so you're ready to learn a lot easier. School becomes a lot easier if you can actually get good sleep, get that data dump and store it into long-term memory. But for your body's sleep, the deep phases of sleep, there's this hormone called growth hormone that is released in your body in a high amount. And anything that's not right, if you got a little strain here and there, that's when it goes to work. And if you're dealing with recurrent injuries that just won't get better, first thing you should do is analyze, are you sleeping the amount of sleep getting the amount of sleep you should be getting? So keep that in mind. And that relates to, resting and, when you're feeling like you need a day off. If your body says take a day off, you might need to just take a day off. Okay, so this is a long list of symptoms in overtraining syndrome, and it's a real thing, and it can be kind of dangerous. So this is, I don't know if anybody's ever experienced this. A lot of runners, and some of the college runners and coaches here may have experienced it. And it's usually when you've got these goals and you're working so hard and you're doing the extra miles, you're probably not sleeping, so you're still trying to take care of other stuff. What happens is your body starts to rebel against you, and then you start slowing down, and you're not reaching your speed goals. But what do? You start pushing harder. Man, I'm slowing down. I got a coach. I need to work harder. And it leads to this vicious cycle of just you're getting slower and slower, and your body's actually starting to break down. So these are serious symptoms here. Your heart rate, your resting heart rate will actually go up. You're going to get insomnia where you're not sleeping. You just can't sleep even if you want to. You're getting depressed and frustrated, and you actually end up with a decrease in your appetite too. So if you're seeing these kind of things in yourself, if you've been training really hard and you're just frustrated hitting a wall, then talk to your coach, talk to your doctor. There is a real thing called overtraining syndrome. It happens to distance runners probably more than anything. And you have to rest. That's when you don't even do the elliptical. You got to give your body recovery, rest, sleep extra, eat really well, and it might take a couple weeks to actually overcome it. So, anyways, that's there for your reference, and it's something you should be aware of. All right, I already talked a little bit about sleep. I'm sure you get tired of hearing about that. Yeah, teenagers need their sleep. Okay, but it will help you. Already went over this, your mental recovery, physical. Yeah, I talked about the tissue repair. That's the big thing. Increased blood flow to your muscles and tendons. Everything heals when you're in your deep phases of sleep. Very valuable. Okay, does anybody have a hard time falling asleep? Yeah, a good number of you guys. All right, so look at these 6 recommendations if you're having a hard time falling asleep, because your body, we're on a system related to light, but we have all this artificial light, okay? So if you have caffeine, of course, that's going to stimulate you and keep you from, so you have a soda or an energy drink or something like that. If you have that after 12 o'clock noon, it's going to affect your ability to fall asleep. Avoid emotional or charged shows. So if you're watching some intense, Game of Thrones type show in the evening, it gets your heart rate up, it gets you fired up. You're going to have a hard time falling asleep, okay? It's like your fight or flight system is getting engaged right before you're trying to go to bed. That's not smart. Artificial light keeps you awake, okay? There's this cool, you guys, there's a podcaster named Andrew Huberman who's done research on light and the effect on our brain. It's really interesting. If you get the early morning light in your eyes, it actually will wake you up real effectively and set your whole system for the day, okay? But at night, you don't want to have too much artificial light, screen light, and that sort of thing, because that messes with your system. Our bodies are designed to work on this cycle, the circadian rhythm, and too much light in the evenings actually will keep us up. So, reading a book or just, dimming the lights and chilling out is the best thing to do about an hour before you want to go to sleep. This is probably the hardest, is the no screens, because you always want to be on your screen. But just think about that. It will affect you, how well you sleep that night. Any questions on that? Okay. So I've got a list of strengthening exercises some of you all might be doing with your team, off season, maybe even some in season. So I've got some principles there talking about the most important muscles to work. The glutes are so important. They stabilize. They're the powerhouse of your running. They keep your core stable when you land on one leg, and keeps your foot from your hip from dropping like that, causing all kinds of injuries. So strong glutes are one of the best things most important muscle groups to be working when you're strength training. Lunges and squats are good for that. All right, so this is a circuit that I like to use. I'll do this at the end of a run sometimes. It kind of builds endurance and strength. So they're just squats, stationary lunges. Power-ups are like on a step like so, and it's emphasizing explosive movement up like that. You could just do it on a stair or a box, and then you guys know what squat jumps are. But you work through that series 2 or 3 times, and it'll just fry your legs. It's a really good strength and endurance program that you could just do right at home. And you all do plyometrics, I know, with your team, and just want to talk about the importance of it. It's really valuable for not just performance, but help you with injury prevention, because the plyometric allows you to absorb more effectively the stress of running. And so you absorb, and then you get explosive getting back off that leg, making you faster and less prone to injury. So it only takes about a week for you to lose the benefit of plyometrics. So if you do plyometrics on a Monday and you don't do it for 2 weeks, you actually have lost the benefit of working it. So consistency is important. Even once a week during a season, that would be good. They are, you're a little more prone to injury. You got to be careful. You got to be wise about it, starting at the basic level. There's like 5 different levels of plyometrics, starting with 2-legged hops like this, and then eventually working on one-legged stuff. where like this athlete on the screen there, doing a one-legged bound, flying up in the air and then having to land it on one leg. That's probably the most aggressive. I'll just talk a little bit about when you're doing plyometrics. Again, I like to tell you guys together because, coaches are going to try to help you with this. Anybody feel real warmed up? I want to get somebody demonstrating. Springy legs. All right, what's your name? Cameron. Cameron, do a few skips across the gym just to get your ankles warmed up. Let's see those perfect A skips. All right. All right, knees a little too high. Keep your chest up nice and tall. This will be a review from the beginning. There we go. Very good. Now take shorter ones. Make it quicker. All right, good. You feel loose? All right. All right, try to keep that foot, when you do A skips, keep that foot out in front, not under here. There we go. All right, let me just see you hop over that. When you hop over, stand right here, hop over, and then jump vertically right afterwards. No, forwards. Yep. And then jump vertically right afterwards. Just stand right next to it. Hop, and then boop. Good. All right. So that was good. Did you see how long he landed? It was this microsecond, and then he took off. All right, do it again. Try to take off a little quicker. That was better. Okay. Maybe one more time, a little quicker. I don't want you to get hurt. Poof. There you go. So that's good. Good job, Cameron. Thank you. So when you guys do plyometrics, the key is shortening that time from the landing to the takeoff, as you want it as short as possible. All right, so and the more explosive you are to get that second hop, the more effective that plyometric will be. Okay, but that is definitely, plyometrics are something you can way overdo. So you got to be real careful. Sets and reps, you got to be real strict on, like 4 or 5 reps at a time. Long rest periods. So don't just jump into it based on this slide. Do some more research, talk to your coaches, and follow a program. So I've got a list of a variety for your reference. Like I said, you'll get access to this, and you can go over it. You got the one-legged jumps. I think I put these in order of difficulty. So we got jumping rope and squat jumps. Next level would be like hurdle over hopping, and then one-legged hurdle overs. And then obviously that's probably one of the highest level. Usually don't see distance runners doing that. That's your sprinters, the amount of power that they develop. Bounding, you've seen that picture already. And tuck jumps. Anybody ever done a tuck jump? Jump up, draw your legs up and put it back down. Very aggressive, but a great exercise to develop power. All right, so I'm going to roll through these kind of quickly. These are for your reference. Doing stuff barefoot, working your foot is very important, okay? We're in these supportive shoes, cushy shoes. A lot of you guys wear Hokas, which, you're like 4 inches off the floor. Your feet can get real lazy, okay? So whenever you can, get your shoes off, do exercises. When you're doing those strength training with the one-legged, do them in your bare feet. Make those foot muscles work. That will really help prevent a lot of injuries I see in running. This guy right here with the green strap, he's actually working his big toe. It seems kind of silly, but there's a muscle that controls that big toe that is very vital to that push-off of running for stability and mechanics. So keeping that toe nice and strong is important. And then I always recommend doing a little bit of barefoot running. Some of your coaches might do that on a nice turf field. I'm not saying go out and do 10 miles barefoot, but doing like 10-meter, 20-meter intervals for a little bit can be helpful to build foot strength, and also encourages good efficient running form. So on the topic of foot health, I always like to talk about our running shoes. So I had, you guys know Jeff. Is Jeff here? Jeff in the Lucky Road Run Shop. He has the shop in the cafeteria room. He's a great guy, but he told me, I asked him, why are running shoes designed the way they are? It was really news to me. He told me that 80% of the running shoes sales in this country go to non-runners. They just like the looks of them. So the manufacturers are making shoes that try to look good more than try to be good for your feet as a runner. So just kind of keep that in mind, okay? And pointy-toed, classy-looking shoes, they look better than a big, round, wide toe box, right? And it's just our fashion in this country. But you can see to the right a foot that is inside a shoe. It's an x-ray of a foot inside a traditional running shoe. Can you see how the toes are all kind of scrunched and the big toes being pushed over? Okay, that's what happens to our feet in most of our running shoes. To the left is that same foot just standing without a shoe, okay? So shoes cause a lot of problems. So you want, when you go fitting with a shoe, go for a shoe fitting, you want as wide a toe box that feels comfortable to you, okay? You don't want that forefoot to be scrunched in. That's just an example of what shoes, see that's a kid's foot who hasn't been in shoes very long, and that's what your dad's feet look like, or probably some of your feet even, especially the one to the left, really getting scrunched over. So here's an example. This is a couple years old, so I don't know if these styles are still around, but you can see the difference. The top row are all shaped more, a little bit squared off, a little more rounded, foot-friendly, compared to the bottom row where you have that pointed design, okay? So be very aware of how that shoe affects your forefoot. You guys are young, so you get away with it. It doesn't feel bad to you. When you get my age, you have to have that room. I couldn't put my foot in a traditional running shoe if my life depended on it. I just wouldn't be able to run. But I put this picture up here. I call it the insole test. I think Jeff likes to do this too. You take the insole of the shoe out and stand up on it, and if your whole foot is covering over it, like wider than the insole, then that's probably not a good shoe for you, okay? Check your big toe, check your fifth toe, and in the middle part of your foot. You shouldn't be wider than the insole of the shoe, okay? So keep that in mind, very important. And something else while I'm talking about this, some of y'all, there's some shoe stores that have these foot scanners. Anybody ever been on one of those foot scanners? Yeah, a lot of you, okay? So it's become a popular thing, and most of them are static, where you just stand on it and it does this little scan, looks real cool. The purpose of that scan is to sell you something, sell you orthotics or sell you something else. They're not valid. They don't relate to how your foot functions. Now, there are some stores, I know of one in Richmond, they actually will have you walk over the scanner and look to see how your foot functions walking over it. That's a different story. That might be some valuable information, okay? But if you're just standing on it and they're recommending a shoe or an arch support based on your scan, they're just trying to upsell you, okay? So I just like you all to be aware of that. Be careful of that. Your foot does not function related to your static scan. And if you get overcorrected, I've seen a good number of kids overcorrected, put in orthotics, and they end up with ankle pain on the outside because they don't need the orthotic. The foot scanner said they needed it, but that's not how they functioned. So just be aware of that. You might be spending more money than you need to, and it could even potentially hurt you. Any questions on those? It's a real popular thing that really annoys me, because that technology that has been debunked for like 25 years, that a static scan relates to function. Okay, other injury prevention tips, making sure you warm up really well. And this is when you're doing your runs on your own during the summer, or if you're doing a weekend run, warm up. Whatever you guys do as a team, you should do your dynamic warm-up before your runs on the weekends and that sort of thing too. And then take the time to roll out, use the massage stick, or stretch afterwards. That just makes you more prepared for your next run. And you guys know how to dynamic warm up. Stretching, there's the stretching for the hip flexor. Again, I got all these in there, just techniques for stretching different muscle groups. I want to point out one, the upper right-hand corner. So we typically stretch our quad like this, right? Just kind of grab the foot. Well, anybody know why the quads are called the quads? There's 4 muscles, right? So when you do it this way, you're only getting 3 out of 4 muscles. The 4th one is a 2-joint muscle. It actually crosses all the way up above the hip. So to get the 4th muscle, you gotta grab the heel of your shoe, pull the leg back, then bend. You'll notice it is a totally different stretch, okay, than just doing this. So keep that in mind. You could do both. You could do this one, but then make sure you grab the heel and get that 4th muscle. We already did walking lunges and stuff. Okay, so I hit you earlier with the importance of posture, staying tall when you run, helps prevent injury, helps you run more efficiently. When you're nice and tall, the glutes are working, your back's core muscles are working. When you slump, the system just falls apart, okay? We've got this stuff called fascia in our bodies, and you're slacking the fascia on the front and stretching it on the back if you're running kind of hunched over like this. So stay tall. When you do your drills, that's the time to work on being tall for all your drills, and then it should carry over into running. And how you sit in class, how you hang out on your phone, curled up like this, or, you holding it up like that and being a little bit straighter. All of those play a role, and it can carry over in your running, okay? And these are your unsitting exercises. Get on your stomach, prop up on your elbows. If you want to hang out on your phone, get on your stomach and hang out on your phone. You're stretching the front, you're arching your back. That's like the opposite of what sitting all curled up in a ball, okay? So consider that. It's just a practical thing. Get on your stomach. And this stretch on the bottom is getting another way to get that rectus femoris, that 4th quad. You lie on your stomach and bend the knee like that. That's really good. Good way to get it. All right, real quick slide or two on what if you do get hurt. First thing I want to say is don't go straight to the Advil or Aleve. You get tendonitis, you get a shin splint, the last thing you want to do is take an anti-inflammatory because your body is inflamed for a reason. It's an alarm, and it's triggering a healing response. If you chemically block that whole process, you're probably going to prolong your recovery, okay? Ice it a little bit. You could take some Tylenol if it's keeping you up at night, but an anti-inflammatory should not be taken in that first week because that's the inflammatory process. You want to go through that. Try to exercise through it, cross-train, etc. But and the other thing is don't just stop everything, okay? If you're told you can't run, okay, you can't run. Well, swim, bike, elliptical. Find out what you can do that won't aggravate the injury. And that will keep your cardio and also help with the healing process. And so this is my summary. You need to eat well, sleep well, train well, strengthen and stretch, and sit up straight. Slackers. This guy's falling asleep. Sit up straight. All right. Any other questions you guys have? I'm done.
My question was about when you use ice for recovery, because isn't the point of using ice to improve blood flow to the area, right?
Can you put it a little closer?
Yeah. So the point of ice is to improve blood flow to the area, right?
Increases blood flow.
Yeah. But whenever you how long should I use ice for? Because I know whenever you use ice for too much, it'll decrease blood flow and have the opposite effect. So
Right.
I don't.
Yeah, that's a really good question. You've been doing your research. Like 10 minutes is probably good. You get an initial, when you first have ice, the skin gets an initial vasoconstriction, so it kind of shuts things down. It can slow down the swelling process. Like some people are arguing that you shouldn't even ice an ankle sprain, and I've read that, or even a tendonitis. I can't argue against it, except I know they're not chemically stopping the healing process. They might be slowing it down a little bit or tempering it just a little bit to keep it from, keeping you up at night. I don't think it's going to have the same kind of effect on the inflammatory healing response, if that makes sense. But you could go online, you'll find people really saying, don't even ice it, just let it do its thing. Elevation, that sort of thing is good. So yeah, you could make a case for not even icing because it may have an effect on the inflammatory process. But to answer your question, 10 minutes, if you go much longer, you're risking frostbite and or skin damage, and you might be causing too much inhibition of the inflammation. Any other questions? Yes? Oh, it's right in the middle there.
So you talked about like upping your cadence to 180. How do you up your cadence without going necessarily faster than the pace you're already going?
And good question. So the easiest way is to get on a treadmill, set the speed, and listen to Spotify and increase your turnover. So the treadmill is going to be at a constant speed, okay? The other way is run with your teammates, and they're kind of monitoring the pace. So you guys are all together at a steady pace. Then turn your legs over quicker, like start turning over, and then you stay back with don't go ahead of your buddies. So that's another way. Have some way to gauge your pace. You could use your smartwatch if they're not that accurate at the spur of the moment, but if you got one that's real accurate and it's a sunny day, you might be able to see your pace. So yeah, you do want to try to keep that pace the same, but turn the legs over a little quicker. Great question. And I think the best way to do it is to music. Just try to run to the beat of the music or use a metronome. Practice, you could even practice at home. Just put on music or a metronome and just practice running in place at the cadence that you're shooting for, okay? And 180 is a number that's thrown out there like the ideal cadence. The only thing at 180, they notice that elite runners tend to fall somewhere around 180. That's where that came from. It's not a magic number. So I'd like to use the rule 5 to 10%, and that's based on some good research. If you feel like you're overstriding too much and you need to increase your cadence, start with just 5 to 10% higher. And then if that starts feeling really good and you're still having issues, you could try to tweak it another 5 or something. But keep small changes make a big difference. Okay? Excellent question.
Real quick. Will it change, or once you're at 160, if you don't make it change, you'll stay? It doesn't matter your fitness, doesn't matter your age. Will your cadence change as you get more fit or as you get older and run more miles, or does it kind of, once you get to sophomore year, it's going to stay at 160 unless you change it?
I think you can train it permanently. It takes time.
But I'm saying once it gets to 160, if you don't change it, it's going to stay at 160? Or if you get more fit and you get older, it could change on its own? Or once you're kind of established it, if you don't work to change it, you're stuck at 160?
Yeah, I don't know why it would change unless you had, maybe your training buddy turns over a little quicker and you might subconsciously turn over a little quicker with your running partner. Yeah, but I don't think I think if you start working on it, it'll change. If you don't work on it, that's a good question. I think if you get it, let's say you're a beginner runner and you're running 11-minute miles at 160, and then you get in really good shape. You find out, oh wow, I got some talent here, and you start running 7-8-minute miles. Your cadence is probably going to go up, so naturally, without even trying. And it is easier to run fast with a good cadence than it is to run slow with a good cadence. So it's hard for me to get 9-minute milers to bump their cadence up to 170, 175. It just sometimes feels a little, you just like you're running real short little stride like that. So anyways, yeah, I think it does tie to speed to some extent naturally. Anybody else?
So with the CrossFit thing, you mentioned that whatever you're practicing has to be equivalent to whatever you're trying to run, right?
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning.
With CrossFit?
CrossFit?
Yeah.
Cross training?
Whatever.
Yeah, you meant cross training, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You're trying to exercise to the equivalent of whatever you're trying to run, right?
Yes.
So what are the equivalencies? Like, what's swimming compared to like 5 miles of running or biking or something?
Wow, great question. Use duration. Now, swimming's kind of its own thing, but cycling and elliptical, you can use duration and intensity to be equivalent. So if you're supposed to run for an hour, get on the bike for an hour. Don't go by mileage, obviously. You go by the duration that you would be running. If coach wants you doing 400-meter repeats, how long does it take you to do a 400-meter repeat? Do that on the bike or do that on the elliptical. That would be kind of a comparable workout, and do the same number of reps that the team is doing on the track. Now, swimming suppresses your heart rate a little bit. I don't know, it's a weird phenomenon. It doesn't match 1-to-1, but if you're supposed to, you could do just based on time, and if you're supposed to do a long, slow run, swimming would be really good replacement for like your LSD, a long, slow distance. And you could do swimming the same comparable time, hour and a half or whatever. Or deep well running. Now, if you're doing deep well running, have you ever done that? Anybody done, you put a vest on and you actually run in the water like this. That one, if you're doing that, you're gonna pretty much do the same, go by duration and intensity of your track workout or whatever you're supposed to be doing. So that's a great workout, by the way, deep well running. It's boring. Oh my gosh, it's boring, but it's really effective for when you're injured. Yes, sir.
So with the cadence thing you said earlier, not 180 being ideal, it's harder because I feel like it's harder for taller people to have like a higher cadence, isn't it? I feel like, is there a point where like 180 should be like, I should like lower my cadence to like 170, because if I'm doing like 9 minutes or like 8:30 and I'm trying to hit a 180, and it just feels more tiring than it would if I would actually was doing 170. So like, should I ever like lower my cadence purposely?
Yeah, if you're naturally cruising along at 180 and you're not thinking about it, I would stick with it. But if you're trying to make yourself do 180 at an 8:30 pace, I would just let yourself fall into, maybe mid 170s, 174. So you just don't want it to be real bouncy, and you don't want to be overstriding. So if you're landing on your midfoot and you're not overly bouncy, you could probably drop your cadence to, if you're tall, 174. And again, 180 is like, this kind of guideline, but anything from over 170 to 180 is fine. I think when you get down into the low 160s, that's when you're real bouncy, and you might, some guys who are going to be 6'4", if they're running a long, slow distance, maybe their cadence is going to be a little under 170. That might be okay, as long as they're efficient. But I like the logic behind trying to keep your cadence real close to race pace cadence, because then if your body's used to that turnover, and then during race pace you're taking advantage of that stride and the cadence, you've got the best of both worlds right there. You got stride length with cadence, and that's speed, right? And there was a research study done with elite runners. I got the reference, I didn't put it on here, but they actually took I don't know, a dozen runners, and they had them running. I don't remember the range, but I think they started at like an 8 or 9 minute mile, and they went all the way down into like a 4:30 mile. And they wanted to see, they didn't give them any coaching. They just said, let's analyze your running at an 8:30 or a 9 all the way down to 4:30. And they measured stride length and cadence, and the stride length changed dramatically as they slowed down. Cadence stayed really close. They only changed like 10%. When you go from a 9 minute mile all the way down to a 4:30, the cadence did not change that much in these elite runners because they were used to just clicking their legs along at a consistent pace. So that's one of the studies that really got my attention to see, oh yeah, these guys, it's about the difference between a slow run and a fast run is how hard you're hitting the ground and how far you're traveling, not your turnover. Your turnover should be fairly consistent. Great questions, guys. Got another one?
Yeah, so I had a question about the overtraining syndrome. So I'm a dual distance swimmer and distant runner. So I'm swimming and I'm running at a pretty high level all throughout the year. And during the spring season, I really ran into that syndrome. I had a lot of symptoms. It was really bad. Like, where do you think the line is? Because I feel like you still need to train hard to improve. But like, how do you avoid to fall into that cycle of overtraining and getting tired and overtraining more? Like, where's that line, do you think?
It's a tough line to draw, but I can tell you, and being a swimmer, you're probably at the pool at 5 in the morning. That's the problem right there. You got to go to bed at 8. So, what's that? Oh wow, going to bed at 6:30, and yeah. So, it sounds like if you were sleeping. One of the most common causes of overtraining syndrome when you're a dual athlete like that, you're not getting enough rest, you're not sleeping. But if you're getting your sleep, you're going to have to talk to the two coaches and say, hey, I need some days off. I can't be doubling up on every single day. So that's a conversation with the two coaches. And, they're very successful. You could be very successful running 3 days a week. So you can, if you're doing some other endurance, you get your speed workout, you get your tempo run, and your long, slow distance, and then you swim. I think you could still have a very successful running season.
If you increase your cadence, do you also increase the effort that you put into running?
It should actually feel easier. When you increase, most people say when you increase your turnover, it feels easier. So yeah, you don't want to be thinking about that. You just think about trying to relax and just turn the legs over a little quicker. And you don't want to increase your speed. So the speed. Now that being said, when you first change your cadence, it takes about, now this was in adults. In adults, it took 4 weeks for the person to get used to the new cadence. So when they first changed their cadence, they were not running as fast, they couldn't run as far, they were getting tired, okay? But then after 4 weeks, they got used to it, their nervous, cardiovascular system, everything got used to it, and then it was just as good and maybe even better, more efficient. So, yeah, so in that sense, you will feel you're working harder, you're going to get tired just because you're not used to it, but you'll adapt. Good question. All right. That might be it. You guys are awesome. Have a great week this week.
All right, this one does work. All right, let's give Steve Butler another round of applause. That was. So hopefully you guys can take away a lot of useful information there. That's really good stuff there. So hopefully some of that sunk in. All right, rest of the day before we let you out of here. Obviously, it's chance of rain the rest of today, so keep track of your band app. But it will give you some heads up of some of the changes possibly. After lunch, the way the schedule goes, 12 p.m. is lunch, 1:15 to 2:15 is your team challenge. Someone's going to come up here, Coach Algrim, in a minute and let you know how the team challenge, where you're going to meet, all that stuff. So he'll go over that in a second. But that's 1:15 to 2:15, and then 2:30. So you're going to have less than, you're probably about 10 minutes after your team challenge to go back to your dorm room, change, get everything you need, and be on the quad by 2:30 to load the buses. Okay, that's the same place. The quad is where you met yesterday for your afternoon activity at 4. That's where you meet. When you come down there today, your counselors will be there. Counselors, make sure you're there no later than 2:30. Spread out, hold up the signs. You'll get to your group. They'll take roll. Okay, then I'll let you know what buses you're going on. We'll go over that in a second. Okay, but if it's raining, like actively raining at 2:30, then you go in to the building you registered yesterday and go up the stairs. We'll meet upstairs, and then we'll organize up there. Then we'll walk out and get on the buses. But that's only if it's raining at 2:30, okay? Dinner is at 6 p.m., so when you come back, you should be back no later than 5:30, probably not any earlier than 5. They'll give you a little bit of time if you do want to shower before dinner. 8 p.m. is the evening session back in here. Pizza is 7 to 7:30 right in front of the building where you registered yesterday, okay? And then the pizza will be waiting for you after the evening session. All right, a couple things about this morning's run. Please listen to your counselors. Counselors do a good job of having someone in front and then someone in the back, okay? We want to make sure that all the kids are running in a group. No one should be running by themselves, okay? We saw a lot of people coming back running the same direction on both sides of the roads. Most of you guys know you should only run facing traffic, and if there's a sidewalk, please be on the sidewalk. Just be careful, okay? We can't just, the roads are for cars. So some of those people are going to get mad at us running crazy things in different sides of the roads where you're not supposed to be. So please pay attention where you're running and listen to your group leaders. All right, this afternoon, loading the buses. Counselors will ride the buses with you. You're going to load the buses by your running group. So we go to 3 different locations. If you're in group number 11, 12, 3, or 7, you're going to North River Gorge. Okay, that's 11, 12, 3, and 7, North River Gorge. Now, North River Gorge is a single track trail. Okay, so there'll be 2 staff members out there coordinate, but you need to leave time among groups, and you're going to have to follow single file, so be careful, look down, pay attention. Okay, if there is a run this evening where you're more likely to get injured, it's North River Gorge because you're not paying attention. It's also the one that's easier to get lost on because there's a couple offshoots here and there. So again, if you keep the group together, the group will be together. It's an out and back run. Okay, so pay attention, make sure you know how far out you're going, stay with your group. Okay, that's North River Gorge. Second group, if you're group 10, 1, 9, or 4, you're going to Bear Trap Farms. 10, 1, 9, and 4. Bear Trap Farms. That is a fire road. It's fairly hilly. Lots of downhills, uphills, all shaded. North River Gorge is all shaded as well. Again, you're going to, listen up, please. Quiet, listen. You're going to go out and back as well. Okay, so make sure you listen to your group counselors. If there's any issues, you just turn and come back. Bear Trap Farm has a couple side roads that go off. Obviously, stay on the main road. It's pretty simple if you're looking up and paying attention, but there are some places you can go wrong. So just make sure you stay on the main road, okay? And the last groups should be 2, 6, 5, and 8. You're going to Paul State Forest. Okay, that is another road that's shaded, gravel, goes out. Basically, someone will explain to you out there, but if you keep making right-hand turns, it kind of does a loop like this. So right-hand turn, come back, right-hand turn, come back, and on your way back, you can do the same thing. Okay, but you can get a total of 3 to 4 miles out there, but same deal. You're going to go out and back. Make sure you stay with your groups. Okay, when you get there, counselors, campers, keep in mind, you have basically an hour. Someone's going to announce the time when you need to be back on the bus. That time won't start until obviously everyone's off the bus. So if you're only going to run 30 minutes, you got 30 minutes to kill on either side. So take your time before, stretch, do some movement prep. When you come back, get the groups back together, take roll, do a little more stretching, things like that. We don't need to jump off the bus and rush into running, especially groups. We have 4 groups at each place. They should be spread out along the court. One goes off, wait a minute or two before the next group goes, okay? Things to bring. Anything you bring, you can leave on the bus. Just make sure you keep track of the bus number you got on. Every location is going to have 2 buses, so it shouldn't be too hard. I would leave your stuff on the bus because as Coach Walton was pointing out, he's a local around here. Might not be raining here, but we go 30 minutes south of here, and it could be pouring down rain the entire time, and you don't know what's going to happen during your run. So I'd advise you to leave everything on the bus, and then you can get it off when you return, okay? So if you want to take an extra shirt, something dry, if you do get wet, that's fine. You know, you have backpacks, bring that stuff, but bring your water bottles, should have your names on it, okay? Be mindful of what you eat for lunch. You're eating lunch from 12 to 1. You're going to be running shouldn't be running any later than 3:30 by the time the buses get there and you actually start running. You wouldn't be running any earlier than 3:15, okay? So keep that in mind. Trainer will be on site in each location. Okay, so if that someone gets hurt, stung by a bee, anything like that, a trainer will be there for you to see. All right? Anything we leave out, staff? Need to see the masters, Natalie, Heather, and Ben. See Donnie before you leave the session. And then Thomas Edison, guys, we have your keys for your new rooms. See Coach Davis. All right, and then we're going to go over the team challenge right now. All right.
I can't bend in this thing. It's too tight. All right. Yeah, take the pictures. I'm sure I'll see these later this year in the slideshow. Colgan. Okay. Hey, today's Spirit Day, America Monday. I could see some better spirit out there. I'm just saying. Shut up. I'll have Coach Davis deal with you later. All right, so Spirit Days. Yesterday we had School Spirit Day. We have a couple posts on Instagram from that one. Waiting for more to come in today for this. When you do that, make sure you tag us in your post. Use the hashtag BRRCamp so we can see those. We will be giving out gift cards tonight for School Spirit and for America Monday. So make sure you have that. All right. As far as Team Challenge goes, all right, we'll start it at 1:15 today. We'll meet tentatively right now, if it's not raining, on the amphitheater steps. Those are the steps we walk by as we're coming in here. If it's raining, we will be in here. All right. Your challenge groups were in your packet. You'll meet up with your challenge group. Counselors, I'll get you your assignments for those so you know what groups you have as far as that goes. And we will go over our challenge today. We'll have one challenge a day, today through Thursday. And we'll give the trophy to the winning school on Friday morning. All right. So again, make sure you're posting, you're tagging us. Not tagged, we don't see it. You're not eligible for the gift cards. Any questions on team challenges? All right. Staff, anything else? We good?